Hello, welcome everyone to Cocktails and Connections, and thanks for joining us this evening. My name is Maria, and before we start, I just wanted to take you through the house etiquette so you can make the most of this experience. I would like to bring your attention to the right side of the screen. There you can access the questions box to ask any questions, and the chat to interact with the speakers and the audience. Besides, in the bottom of your screen, you have emojis to react whenever you want. A tip that might be useful: if you lose your audio or your screen freezes, you probably can fix it just refreshing the page. But if you have some other problem, clicking the purple question button that is at the bottom of your screen on the right hand side. If you click in the 24/7 support launch, someone from the crew will help you with anything that you may need. So participate as much as possible, interact with each other, and enjoy the evening.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to tonight's event. It is a great pleasure for me to also welcome Rita Day, our Programme Director at Dublin Business School. And before you kick back tonight and we start learning some amazing cocktails from Kieran Kavanagh, we're delighted to have him here. I'd like to give a special thanks to the event operations class and daytime and evening who have done some amazing events last week and this week. This class in particular all met each other this year at Dublin Business School. More than 50% of the class are from different countries in Europe, and we have students as well from Malaysia. And they haven't met yet in some cases. Some have, some haven't. So you can imagine what it's like to put on a big virtual event like this from their computer desks. So they have been doing an unbelievable amount of work to put on this special evening for you tonight. So I'd like to thank them very much and say how proud I am. Again, thank you so much to my speakers who go out of their way every time to give back to students and give some amazing experience. So without further ado, I am so delighted to introduce a colleague of mine, and she's a wonderful, inspirational woman, Rita Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma, and good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this Cocktails and Connections event. I just love the name of it. It's an absolutely fabulous name. So I'm delighted to have been asked to come along this evening just to open the event and say hello to everyone out there. I'm really looking forward to going back to the lounge shortly and joining a table and just sitting back and listening to some of our wonderful speakers and some of the wonderful lineups that we have in store for you this evening. So at Dublin Business School, we talk about collaboration and teamwork and all of these graduate attributes and skills that we would like to see in our students going forward for employability. And there's this event that's taking place this evening, and albeit in I suppose in a virtual environment for us, it really is a credit to students and to the team working behind the scenes this evening to coordinate something like this. It can be so challenging, especially in these times. I know myself that over the last few weeks, last few months, it's been so challenging with internet connections dropping, with dogs barking, with children talking in the background. So to pull all of this together in one big special event like this is really meaningful. So I'd also like to, I suppose, compliment the team and to Emma as well for being able to host it on this very special platform. It's something that I'm becoming familiar with the more that I go onto the platform. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity to mingle at tables, to have that real internet connection through networking with one another as well, that we so sadly miss at the moment as well. So it's a great opportunity. The team, as I say, have an amazing lineup for you. They put together a great opportunity to meet other people, to hear from speakers, and just to really relax and see what's going on this evening. So without further ado, I would like to take my seat back in the lounge and to say to you, please do sit back, enjoy this evening, and have a wonderful time. Thanks, everyone.
Bienvenidos. Bienvenue.
Good evening and welcome to our event Cocktail and Connection.
Benvinguts a Cocktails and Connections.
Bienvenue à Cocktail et Connexion. Bienvenidos a Cocktails and Connections.
Bienvenue au Cocktail et Connexion.
Bienvenidos a Cocktail and Connection. We hope you enjoy as much as we did it organizing. Let's go.
Now I will introduce another quick video, so please bear with us.
Hi everyone, my name's Kieran and today I'm going to be showing you how to do a couple of easy cocktails that you can make at home during all this lockdown. So a bit about myself, I've been working in a pub in town the last 6 years or so now, making a few cocktails, all that, so hopefully I can teach you a couple of things, nice easy ones. So to start us off, I'm going to teach us how to make a sex on the beach, like this, yeah. Just a sex on the beach to start us off. So the first thing you're going to need is something to put it into to shake. So I have a shaker here. So I'm going to put in 40 ml of normal vodka. And then another 40 ml of peach schnapps. The next thing you want to do then is to get some ice. Just about a handful of ice there to put it in to chill the whole alcohol. And then the next part is a bit of orange juice. It's not too much orange juice. You don't want it to be too heavy on the orange juice. Then what you want to do is to stick in another glass like this or anything. You could use a protein shake or anything like that just to shake it, get it all nice and chilled. Grab yourself a glass. I'm using a tall glass. It's handier. Drop in your cocktail into the glass, but try not to spill any of it. Now, and then just to finish it up, I have a bit of cranberry juice. Lastly, you have some grenadine or any strawberry puree of some sort of work, just to add a bit of colour to the bottom of it. And to give it a good mix all up, mix it up to get a nice red colour, and then you're good to go with that. Now, so that's handy. And to make the next one for a good summer's day is a frozen strawberry daiquiri. So the first thing you want to do, is get a good handful of ice, put it into a blendable jug. Second, I'm going to use some strawberry puree. It's handy. You can use real strawberries if you want, but I find it easier to use this. You want to put 2 parts, so 40 ml of the strawberry puree. Sorry, 80 ml strawberry puree. And then you have a sweet and sour mix. Any lime or lemon juice will do the job here. Just 1 part, so you're doing 40 ml. And then if you're going to be good and not touch the alcohol, don't put the rum in. But for me, I'll put in 40 ml of white rum. And you're good to go. Put that in the blender. There you go. You want to make sure that it's well blended before you stop blending it, okay? Nice small glass. And then to finish up, we can use a real strawberry to garnish. And that's your 2 cocktails. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm happy to answer.
Hello everybody, I'm here again to ask some questions to nobody. Sorry, and I will introduce some 4 wonderful speakers in the panel, and they will share with us some good, wonderful tips. So please go ahead, and the first one will be Fiona Flynn.
Hi there. Good evening. So wonderful to join everyone tonight, and I'm just saying I would love some of those cocktails that Ciara made earlier. I'm sitting here at the end of a very busy day, and absolutely I would really relish one of those cocktails. So lovely to have an opportunity to join everyone this evening, and delighted to support you in this initiative, and wonderful that there's so many people from such a global perspective. I think that's one thing during the pandemic. It has really enabled us to be a lot more inclusive and to really celebrate the global aspect. So a couple of things I just wanted to share. One is the quote I'd used was one I'd heard referenced recently, and it's actually by Lewis Hamilton when he recorded his equal winning with Michael Schumacher last year. And I thought it was very relevant for yourselves this evening. Dream the impossible. Speak it into existence. Work hard for it. Chase it. Never give up, and never doubt yourself. So I think that encompasses everything I really wanted to share with you this evening. And you're at a wonderful stage in your career, leaving college, getting out into the world, looking for your first pay job and building that career. So 3 things I just wanted to share with you. One is the importance of relationships and connections. So tonight is all about connections. And I think the single biggest secret, or the single biggest strength that I had in my career to date is just the wonderful relationships I made along the way. I spent some time working in the States where the internet was really kicking off. That stood me really well when I came back to Ireland. I worked in air for many years and now have my own business. But there's relationships that I made in college, in the early parts of my career, when I pivoted careers, so from working as a sales director into running a leadership development company, and all of those relationships, connections along the way have stood me well. So that's definitely, you never know the person you meet or connect with, even from tonight, when your paths might cross again. So absolutely, in terms of LinkedIn, other social media, really nourish and nurture those relationships. Second thing is in terms of self-belief. Having the confidence, operating from a place of I'm okay, you're okay. So as well as having amazing self-belief in yourself, equally valuing people that you work with. So having that balance. And within that as well, I would always say, do one thing that really scares you. Get to that feeling of being at the edge of your comfort zone. I know I definitely hit it last year when my entire business had to go online, and I'm not a technologist. So getting to grips with how to use Zoom. I think I had my kids in one room as I played in the other room, trying to figure out breakout rooms and different technology and different online engagements. So I was very scared this time last year. I will happily admit that. But I've learned so much, and I probably have a much better awareness of knowledge and different technology platforms that I wouldn't have if the pandemic hadn't happened. So definitely, when you have those opportunities that give you that pit of the stomach, that really scary feeling, embrace it. Always say yes, and then figure out a way as to how you're going to get there using your relationships and connections. The third thing I'd like to share with you is remaining humble. So as you go through life, you will master certain things. You will be incredibly successful. And a huge lesson during the pandemic is humanity and compassion are what really matters. So no matter how incredibly successful you will become, I've no doubt about it, never forget that humility. Who are the people that helped you on the way up the ladder, and never forget them. Never be afraid to give back. Never be afraid to pay it forward, because the act of giving will sustain your success for so much longer. And also, we're on a very long journey. You will probably have multiple careers during your lifetime. So always hold that thought. And start with the end in mind. If you were to fast forward 30, 40 years, what do you want people to be saying about you? What is that legacy you want to leave? What is your purpose? So having those three things in your armory from tonight, I hope will be really useful for you. So as I said, relationships and connections, number 1, self-belief, number 2, and remaining humble, number 3. And I absolutely wish you all of the very best for tonight and for all of your career. And I do hope you get back to the physical setting and you can, celebrate your graduation, celebrate that next phase of your career in person. So thank you very much to the organisers, and wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much, Fiona, for sharing your knowledge with us. I hope you enjoy it. And I will introduce our next speaker. She is Kim Okaran, and she is from the MCD agency. And please welcome her.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me? Thank you all very much for having me tonight. I hope you have a very good night, and fair play on all of the hard work that everybody's put in to date. So I guess I'll just start with the quote that I had actually given in. I come from the live event side, so I've been with MCD Productions for over 10 years now. I'm sure some of you would be quite familiar with MCD. MCD is the largest event promoter in Ireland. So the experience and the tips that I'm going to give you tonight are coming more from the live side of it. So the quote that I had given actually was, so working in the live events industry has often been referenced to being like a roller coaster. Some would say it's certainly not for the faint-hearted. If you are lucky enough, however, to make a career in this amazing industry, I would recommend that you embrace it for everything it is and learn to manage the highs and lows. Expect that there will be challenging days, but know that there will be far more highs than lows. And always remember, information, teamwork, and communication is key. And no matter what, don't stress. There'll always be a solution. So I guess from my time in the industry, it's been a roller coaster. So, but that's the way the industry can be. And obviously COVID has also thrown challenges to us, but it is an amazing industry to work in. So you're making a very smart choice in looking to get into the industry. And I think you've utilized your time very well during COVID in upskilling and being ready for when the industry comes back. So at the moment within the industry, we're referring to it as a temporary pause. And we're very excited that it will come back busier than ever. So back to what Fiona was saying, I'd actually say one of my first tips as well would definitely be about relationships and networking. It's a huge thing within this industry, as I'm sure it is in others, but especially in the events industry, because you never know when you're going to meet somebody else, what other events you're going to meet them on. So I would say definitely put a lot of focus on just networking and getting to know people. But you never know what situation you're going to meet people in future. So always remember, no matter what role you meet somebody in now, you could meet them down the line in a completely different role. So always just be nice to everybody, be willing to like meet and mix and mingle and just be involved in as many things as you can. I'd say a second tip then that I would say is information and communication is key within the events industry. A lot of people make the mistake of not being fully informed and trying to, I always suggest that people, anything that you're trying to do, any role that you're doing, get as much information as you can, but communicate with everybody else that you're working with too. You shouldn't retain information all the time. People make that mistake sometimes, but you'll make a far stronger team and you'll work far better together if you actually share information and communicate. A third tip then that I would say is learn to become very organized if you're not already organized. The events industry is very fast paced. You can be juggling numerous shows at a time, numerous events at a time. So definitely from the outset, I would advise get a very good filing system for yourself, both on whether it's on your email correspondence and your actual on your desktop. Just make sure that you have everything quite organized and filed. People make the mistake sometimes of not doing that from the start, and you will always end up going back, referencing information that you had before, because you can learn so much from previous shows. So they'd be my kind of three main tips for it. But I would definitely say just always remember then, always no question's ever a silly question. So when you get out there and you start working on events, or some of you may already have been working, ask the question if you're not sure, because chances are that others aren't sure as well. And you're always learning, so always ask questions. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to speaking with you more.
Thank you, Kim, for sharing those tips with us. And now I will introduce George Brown. He was a DBS alumni and also a Emma student. So please, George.
Hi, thanks very much, Sarah, and thanks to the event team and Emma as well. Always happy to come back and help current students. I was in your shoes 6 years ago, I think now, and all the events were always very time consuming and very, took a lot of time, and the rest of college stuff, all the other projects got in the way of it. So it's always fun to come back and see what all the new crowd are doing. So just a quick introduction. I set up a company a few years ago called Umbrella Wellness with my partner Laura. We're basically a workplace wellbeing provider. So prior to COVID, we went all around Ireland, kind of provided loads of different types of classes under our 4 pillars of wellness, which would be physical classes, mental wellbeing classes, nutrition and financial wellness. In March, obviously last year, overnight our business shut down. So we had to switch to online, so learning all this kind of stuff. My kind of role in it is operations and events. So obviously I studied marketing and events. I have nothing to do with marketing. I don't know anything to do with it. But the event side of this kind of stuff I really enjoy. We have 4 people on the team. So there'll be me and my partner Laura. We set up to come together. Dylan, who will be our technical wizard, and Fiona, who's our kind of social media and researcher. And we're looking for 1, maybe 2 extra sales interns in the next coming weeks. Prior to that, I finished up in DBS in 2016, got a 2-1. Then I got an internship pretty quickly in a sales role in an event management company. Stuck with that for about a year, and I think within 12 months I started setting up Umbrella Wellness. So that's kind of my background. Tips would be, my first one would be always have a morning routine. Now, what this is basically what I find is how you start your morning is largely how your day is going to go. So if you wake up to 5 or 6 alarms, you hit snooze 5-6 times, and then you're straight out of bed, you're checking Instagram, you're checking Facebook, or emails. If it's work emails, they're the worst thing to check. You're kind of not really starting in a mindful kind of place. You're constantly reacting, you're letting things in and reacting to them before you've really started the day. So what I would say is take an hour in the start of the day and give that time to yourself to do the things you enjoy, rather than, starting with all the things that you have to do in the day coming at you immediately. And what I find is that it can lead to a very frantic day. I was just seeing all the dog comments. Yeah, they're my 2 dogs. They're very sleepy. So morning routine, always set aside time in the morning and slow down the pace and ease into the day, and you'll feel more in control of the day. It's a mindset thing as well as, getting jolted by everything. You feel more in control of the morning, you'll feel more in control of the day. My second point would be kind of, and this kind of goes for if you're thinking of setting up your own company or when you're as part of a team in a workforce, is know your strengths, but also more importantly, I think, know your weaknesses. The weaknesses is a big one because there's no point in really trying to do what you're not good at. Some things, nobody can be good at everything. So identify the things that you're not good at and then get help for those things. Personally, like, I'm not good at the social media stuff. I'm not good at maybe certain sales kind of aspects, or even really networking, like randomly cold calling or walking up to people at a conference. I'm not good at that kind of stuff. But my partner is. So that's where she excels. And we both acknowledge it. And the things that she's not good at, I am good at. So we're a good team together. And once you kind of acknowledge your weaknesses, you can then get help for the things that you're not good at. And then you kind of form a good team. A very simple one is always have a notebook on you. I've said this before in the past, and it's something I always say. Have a notebook, because you never know when you're going to get a great idea. I don't particularly like using phones. A notebook will never run out of battery. You'll never really lose a notebook. It's always just lying around. And over time, when you fill that notebook, you have like $100 million ideas, and you can always flick back, look at it. It could be a year, it could be 2 years' time. You go, oh, look, I might explore this now. With a notebook, you can get a lot more creative as well. Like a phone, your text, I don't think it really works. And phones, like, who was a phone from 10 years ago? Nobody, but a notebook, I've got notebooks from 10 years, 20 years ago. And then I suppose probably one of the more important ones is don't forget what makes you happy and prioritize it. This is especially important that it's a mistake I made when I first went into the workforce. You're really excited to start finally working, and you put your best foot forward, you make sure you show up on time, you work extra hard, you might stay late, just so people can know you're doing a really good job. But at the same time, it's very easy to get into a bad habit of it. And if you don't go, okay, what makes me happy? Or rather than I'm working all the time, and before you know it, it's 7 a.m, you get up, then you get home at 7 o'clock in the evening, you're exhausted, you go to bed, rinse and repeat Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you might be exhausted. Over time, over a couple of years, if you're still in that same routine, it'll start to have really bad effect on your mental health. So it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you identify it and you make sure you prioritize it. If it can be once a day, perfect, like simply walking a dog. or once a week, like going on your favorite walk. It's important to make sure you've got those positive things in your life that balance out the hard work. Yeah, so they're all my top tips.
Oh, thank you so much, George. And now we have our final speaker. He's from Barcelona. So please welcome Nacho. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Fiona, Kim, George. First of all, I wanted to excuse myself because my English level obviously is not native as them. And the second thing that I wanted to apologize for is that I didn't do my homework as good as they did. But yeah, definitely, I wanted to introduce a bit myself just for the context. I'm in the advertising and events industry for the last 20 years. It's not bad. And I ran my own agency for the last 10 years. My agency called Mood is an advertising and events agency. And the thing that I wanted to share with you, my tip or my advice, as a manager of a company, is clients first. So my tip is pay attention on clients, because you know that our industry maybe sometimes can confuse you a bit in terms of glamour, in terms of trying to I don't know, to shine bright and yourself. And I think that we need to pay attention and the spotlight in clients. So in the end, we are in a services industry, and it's a matter of service. So all the relationships, as Fiona said, that you can create, you need to build loyalty with the client. The client can be and should be a partner, a friend, and you have to do the way together with them normally. And this seems very, very easy to understand. This seems very simple, but at the end of the day, it's quite extraordinary. And that's why some agencies like mine keep alive and still alive, right? So this philosophy, this paying attention in clients first, make you grow in a very organic way. So, for example, in our case, we started doing events and with events and some strategic plans. And with the pass of the years, we started to adapt our services, our team, to the client's necessities. And this is super important because in terms of pandemic, for example, we have a very big portfolio of services. Like we don't do just events or whatever. We are doing events, but we are doing strategy, we're doing creativity, we are doing branding, we are doing social media, we are doing social media strategy in terms of performance, and we are doing events, of course. But why we are doing all these things? Because we are paying attention on our client and we are responding to their necessities. So this is the best tip that I can share with you guys. What else I can share with you? I think that George was saying that this is a hard job and you are working like not 24/7, but almost. And yes, George was totally right. You don't know, you cannot plan as in a normal work, like, I don't know, like an architect or like an engineer. Here, things happen. And for example, now in Barcelona, you know that we host the Mobile World Congress, and the Mobile World Congress will happen luckily in the end of June, right? So we are having big projects there, and we have just 3 months for working in a big project like this. So we are having several clients there. Normally we work these projects for about 9-12 months. So it's the whole year working these projects. And now we have to work these big projects in just 3 months, and with all the COVID requirement, right? So this is our industry. And if you are not paying attention to your client, if you are not taking care of them, then in these cases, when you have no time, when you have a lot of stress, when you have all these kind of things, then you will put yourself before the client, and this is a big mistake. So take a breath, think like smoothly, and try to be very smart in order to take care of your clients. So this is my tip, guys. Take care of your clients, spotlight on them, and I hope I can help you. For any other question, here I am. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nacho. Wow, so many golden tips that they share with us, so we can take those home. Now I will ask some questions that everybody is doing. Wow, there are a lot. So the first question will be for Nacho. When starting out, what was the biggest challenge your company faced?
Well, the challenge is every day. I mean, I don't really know. I mean, 10 years ago, I was a kid, and I wasn't conscious. So the challenge is every day, and I don't know which one is the biggest one. But you have to think that if you want to run a company, if you want to be a manager, you need to understand that every day can change almost everything, and that you have to be prepared, mentally prepared for any challenge that you have on the way.
Yeah, that's true. And now, question for Kim. Is there any chance for graduate students to look for internship in Ireland, specifically during this pandemic?
Challenging question at the moment. In ordinary times, yes, it's always far easier to get experience and opportunities. There's a limited number of events obviously happening at the minute. Well, at the very moment, there's none. But there has been the LPSS scheme has been launched here in Ireland by the government, which is there's been 25 million assigned for event organisers and venues to put on events over the next while. So the application has opened up. We reckon that some of that will be streamed events, so people with that kind of skill set will initially probably have more potential to get it. The challenge at the moment is there's so many people in the industry looking for work that have been in it for a long time, so it's definitely a challenge. But I would say for people just to keep an eye out on I said to some of them earlier, just going on LinkedIn and start networking, you'll start to get a better idea of what is happening, and then just start reaching out and offering. You never know when there may not actually be something advertised at the moment, but sometimes just offering to help on an event. I definitely found throughout the years, like for anybody, even myself when I started out originally, just volunteering to help on stuff, and then that can lead on to a lot of other things. So I would say really LinkedIn is a great one for the industry at the moment. It's a little bit challenging the next couple of months because you've got very experienced people in the industry willing to do any work at the moment just to get out and do work. Yeah. But don't worry if you don't get anything over the next while. The industry will come back booming. There's huge plans being made, for the future. So just bear with us, kind of just keep an eye, and even just going online, there'll be a lot of different things like events online, and maybe just getting to know the different companies and the type of events. Hope that helps.
Interesting. Yeah. A question for George. How did you get into the Reserve Defence Forces?
Yep. So just to explain, the Reserve Defence Force is basically a part-time army in Ireland. Basically, a recruiting team came around to my school when I was in my final year. I think I was about 17, and basically, did a road show, kind of if you sign up, you get to play with guns, you get to run around fields, all that kind of stuff. But it worked out well because obviously I joined, but my intended career was with the army. I wanted to go to college and then join the army for a few years before I ultimately set up my own company. I just didn't have an idea at the time, so I go to the army first. But yeah, no, I'm still part of it. I'm kind of I'd be a military instructor there now and a junior leader, and I'd be quite heavily involved. So I got nabbed in school to join the army.
Now a question for Fiona. What is a typical day at work for you?
Well, that's a question. There's no 2 days the same. And I have to say, particularly during the pandemic, I really tried to live by George's advice, because particularly when you run your own business, you wake up in the morning and your head is just spinning with your to-do list. So definitely, I have 3 children as well, one during the leaving cert, so a pretty busy house. So definitely having time for yourself at the start of the day, whether it's a really good walk with the dog or just doing some meditation, but having that me time at the start of the day is really important. And then a tip that I was given is, particularly when you have your own business, to look at the to-do list for the day and, effectively what is going to deliver revenue for you, what is going to deliver billable revenue, and then, which is very much linked in with clients. Balance, I would say, is the big thing. So knowing the time of day when you might need to get out and do a walk. I can run a pattern of sitting at my desk on the computer all day and then be absolutely exhausted and very grumpy. So getting that balance in the day and having some breaks. But definitely a mixture of delivering work and preparing for new work, or doing coaching. So the one thing I learned about myself over the years is I love variety and I love change. So I know I need a huge amount of variety in my daily work, or I just get really bored and very unmotivated. The trick is just to balance it.
Yeah, it is.
But that's a daily task. Do you know what I mean? So you never really hit that nail.
Thank you. Another question for Kim. Have you done any research before prepare for this role?
Yeah, good question. I had a variety of different roles actually before I ended up with MCD. My own sister is a musician. She's a bass player, an international touring bass player, and she currently lives in LA. But before I ended up in MCD, she was in a few different bands in Ireland, and I managed some of the bands that she was in. So I guess that was kind of my initial, step into the industry when I started working with her. At the time, the Blizzards, actually a well-known Irish band, were touring, and my sister's band would have supported the Blizzards a lot. So when the Blizzards were touring, I also worked with their manager at the time and kind of within the industry and doing different things. So it was actually through that experience in terms of working with them that an opportunity became available in MCD. And then it'll be 10 years in May since I took a role in MCD, and I've then gone on to various different roles throughout. But yeah, started out originally in band management.
Thank you. A question for Nacho. When starting out, what was the biggest challenge your company faced?
Well, again, the challenge is every day. And 10 years ago, we've been living here a big crisis. So maybe all around the world, but especially here in Spain, as always. So in 2010, you couldn't go to banks, so financially was super difficult, and so we needed to do events and try to get payments in advance for a client. No one knew us, so it was very hard in terms of how to manage finances. But yeah, this was I remember this was very stressful at the beginning, and then you are finding other challenge on the way.
Yeah, it's true. This question is for all of you, so feel free to answer. Is having multiple language as an important part of the global business scene?
let me respond because I'm the no native English speaker. So definitely, yeah, it's super important, and of course in terms of communication, and just to have the knowledge of a language, like not only English, but if you have, I don't know, Chinese, or if you know Portuguese, if you know Spanish or whatever, is super important. So very commendable to try to learn as many languages as you can.
Okay, now we have a question for Fiona. Apart from the pandemic, have you ever taken any big risks in your career? If so, what were they?
Ooh. Probably that self-belief piece. So I would have gotten a Morrison visa and moved to the US, where I had to start looking for work. One of the things there was they were recruiting for this company in terms of the internet. Now, showing my age here, the internet was not very well known in Ireland. So there's probably a big risk going to the US, going into the unknown, and starting with this company who were one of the inventors. In fact, some of their people had been involved in ARPANET in the military to actually create the internet. So that was a big risk, but one where I just said, I haven't a clue, but I'm going to put my hand up and I'm going to just go for it. And just use my ability to work with people and to learn very quickly. But that was a very scary, but yes, a big risk, and but very worthwhile, very rewarding. I certainly don't regret it.
And the next question is for George. What did you find the hardest steps in getting to a place of work where you wanted to be?
Hardest step. Well, to be honest, just getting anyone to kind of answer back in terms of like, oh, I'm looking for a job. I think I sent out like 100 CVs one day or something like that, and then signed up to loads of recruitment things and all that kind of stuff. After a few days, nothing came back, and I thought it wasn't a viable way of finding a job. So what I did was I basically got a huge A1 pad again, my notebooks, and I looked through my phone, my old emails, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff, and I wrote down every single person's name who I thought could potentially, get me a job. So like it would have been like, whether they worked in a company that I wanted to work in, or like, potentially they knew someone. And I just started calling them. I just started ringing them or texting them. And within a day I had an interview, and then within a week I had an internship that turned into my first job. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Thank you so much all for answering our questions. And now I will introduce the networking. So please feel free to network with each other. Hi, hello. I will introduce Ka again to make another giveaway. So go ahead, Ka.
Thanks, Sarah. Hey again, everyone. I'm back to present you with some more lovely prizes. This time, our round of giveaways will take place over on our Instagram. Our social media team will have 2 questions, one for each prize. One of these questions will take place on our Instagram story, and the other will take via Instagram post. So make sure you head over to Cocktails and Connections to view these questions. These prizes have been sponsored by our amazing sponsors, Lily O'Brien and Dingle Gin. So before you go, I'll give you a quick little hint on how to answer one of these questions. Make sure you have the map of Ireland handy somewhere, because it may help you in one of our giveaways. I'm not going to say which one. Okay, so we'll see you soon, and hopefully by the time we get back, you'll have won yourself a prize. Okay, thank you. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Now we will have a break for intermission and networking. So I encourage you to use that. And yeah, thank you. Please welcome back to Kieran. He will do another cocktail for us. So everything and enjoy.
All right, I'm back again to show you how to do the last cocktail of the evening. So what we're going to do is make an espresso martini. So the first thing we need to do is find a stemmed glass of some sort. A wine glass will do, any sort of glass that has a nice stem on it. And then what you want to do is grab some ice, just to keep chilled, to keep the glass nice and cold. Then secondly, what you want to do is grab your shaker of some sort. And then you're going to add 40 mils of vodka. It can be Smirnoff, it can be absolutely anything. Or what I sometimes do is use vanilla vodka, but I have no vanilla flavored vodka, so I'm going to use this. So you have one, which is 40 mil. Secondly, you're going to use your coffee liqueur. So I use Kahlua, which is probably the most well-known, popular, easy to find, or you can use Tea Maria. It doesn't really matter, it's all the same thing. So you want to use 20 mils of that now. So you turn it upside down, put your 20 mil in. And then the last part, what you want to do, I have an espresso shot here. Use 20 mils of this. If you don't have an espresso, you can use any sort of coffee, just 20 mils, but you might not get the foaming effect when you shake the cocktail up. So what I would do is add an egg white to it, which will just thicken the whole thing up and give it a good foamy finish, which is what you want, obviously. Then you have everything ready to go in the book in your container. You want to add yourself some ice, a handful or two of ice. And the important thing here is you want to shake really, really well for 10 to 15 seconds to make sure you get it good, cold and foamy. Now, you open it up. Once that's done, you can empty out the ice that you've put in your glass. Let it sit for a couple of seconds. And then you need your strainer. So sometimes people will double strain, so they'll use a sieve or something to double strain it after this. I just use this because it just stops it from getting ice in the actual cocktail. So you pour it in nice and quick to get a good foam. And then you leave it, it should settle and it'll have a nice creamy top with a coffee finish on the bottom. And then if you had, I have no coffee beans with me, if I had them, you can just sprinkle them on top and they'll sit on top and you're ready to go. If you wanted to make it a bit more sweeter, you can add a bit of sugar syrup, but it's already pretty sweet as it is, so I wouldn't really bother unless you had a really sweet tooth. But yeah, that's your espresso martini, and that's how it's done. It's pretty easy, so you should be able to make them at home, no problem. If you have any questions, feel free to forward them my way. I'm all ears.
Thank you so much, Kieran. I wish I could do that. And let's see, we have questions. Oh yeah, we have it. Is there anything that we should never be mixed?
Anything that which?
That should never be mixed.
I tried to stay away from things like Baileys and Irish cream. Cream doesn't really mix very well because it tends to curdle up with like the likes of vodka and stuff. It curdles up and you get very clumpy. So I wouldn't really use that unless you're making a pina colada. Then you can use cream, but cream and cream liqueur is not really the best thing to mix with unless you have a very specific set of ingredients. Because if you don't do it right, then it will end up clumping up and you won't enjoy it. Just be wasting all your time. Creamy based product I wouldn't really tend to mix.
Yeah. Does the type of ice you use in a cocktail matter?
The type of ice?
Yeah, the ice.
Absolutely not. It's whatever one you can have. So this is just from a fridge that we have downstairs. So now any ice is good once it's not sitting there for a long time at room temperature, because then otherwise it will break away. and you get little pieces of ice in your drink, which for something like this, you definitely don't want that. But if you're going to put it in like the likes of the daiquiri and stuff, you can blend it up, so it doesn't matter too much. But for drinks like this, you want to make sure it's solid and, good cold room temperature.
Yeah. And do different glasses serve a purpose or just for the look?
Yeah, so for an espresso martini, a glass like this that where it's channeled in, it allows to give you a settling effect. So now it's been sitting there for a minute or two, it's started to separate a bit. So the shape of the glass keeps it like that. Whereas the likes of a Sex on the Beach glass, which is usually a tall glass, will it just allows it to separate the grenadine from the bottom and the orange juice stay near towards the top. So yeah, it depends a lot on the glass. Just depends the drink that you're making, really. Although a lot of them, sometimes you can, there's a lot of cocktails that doesn't really matter, like a Cuba Libre, which is just Bacardi, lime, and Coke. Doesn't really matter what.
Do you enjoy making cocktails? What would be your favorite one?
So yeah, I do like making cocktails. I suppose it's a good time to experiment with new drinks and see what goes and what doesn't go. My favorite one is actually espresso martini because it's sweet and it's good for after dinner and stuff like that. And it's coffee in it, so give you a bit of caffeine boost as well as being nice. It's easy to drink, so yeah, espresso martini would be my favorite. If not that, then I tend to go for a porn star martini, which is quite similar to that, but there's no coffee in it. It's made with passion fruit stuff, so it's really easy to make as well. Just need a bit more ingredients, so I thought keep it simpler with this. Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time now, so I'd like to think I'd enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy it, I'd be wasting the next few years of my life.
Are syrups better than juices?
It just depends the purpose of your what you're trying to make. Like I use strawberry syrup or strawberry puree syrup in the for the daiquiri just because it was easier. It's easier to find in shops, and when you're putting it all together. And like the sweet and sour syrup that I used here, that's got a concentrate of different like lime juices and lemon juice with a bit of sugar in it. So it's just handy to do that for people at home rather than going out and buying the ingredients separately. It's just more cost effective. But no, for like you can use real strawberries for strawberry daiquiris and stuff like that. But I just find it easier to use things that are already made for you. You don't need to make your life harder on yourself when you're making drinks. Just want to get to the good part, which is drinking them.
Are there a big difference between a premium vodka or a regular one?
No, the short answer would be no, but it depends. Like if you're drinking, all expensive spirits are there to be enjoyed on their own. You're not supposed to be putting any, stuff in them. Like, for example, you take vodka. There's God knows how many different types of vodka out there. So the likes of Grey Goose is a pure grain, which basically means it's not supposed to be mixed with things. You're not supposed to put Grey Goose with your Coke or your 7-Up or your Sprite, whatever. It's supposed to be enjoyed on its own with a small bit of ice, especially with whiskey. A lot of people think that putting water and things in whiskey is good because it makes them taste better, but it actually just kills off a lot of the flavour. So, like Smirnoff and stuff are fine. Like personally, if I drank Grey Goose and I drank Smirnoff, I wouldn't taste a lot of difference. It'd be just a small bit smoother. But it's not really that different, to be honest. Unless you're enjoying them without any mixers or anything, then you're getting your money's worth of the premium stuff. But I wouldn't bother. If you're going to mix them all together, don't go premium. Keep it cheap.
Okay, thank you so much. And that's it for the questions.
No problem.
And now we will have Carl again in a few minutes. Hi, hello. Welcome back, Carl. You have something to say, right?
I do indeed. So hello again, everyone. We had an amazing turnout for our Instagram giveaway. There was huge amounts of numbers. I hope my clue gave you a little bit of a hint. If it didn't, I apologise. And if it did give you some little hint, I'll leave my details below and I can get a little cut of that nice bottle of gin. So moving on, we will start off by announcing the winner of the Lily O'Brien's giveaway that was kindly sponsored to us by United Events Global. So the event is fairly live. So hang on, and I'll check to see if it's in the winner. Okay, so the question was, George Brown is the co-founder of what company? And the answer, of course, was Umbrella Wellness. And the first person to answer that was Orla K98. So Orla K98, congratulations. You've won 2 boxes of lovely Lily O'Brien's chocolates, kindly sponsored by United Events Global. And now the winner of the lovely bottle of Dingle Gin, which we have here. Very nice. So the winner of that one, and of course it was, what county was Dingle located in? And of course the answer was County Kerry. And the first and quickest man to get to that was Josh Kenny. Josh is having a brilliant night. He's not only watching some great cocktail making, but he's also winning prizes left, right and centre. We also have to thank Kieran for making these lovely cocktails. Kieran, as a little thank you and goodwill gift, we got you a round of golf for 2 in Portmarnock Golf Links. So again, maybe you might want to bring Josh along with you. And we'd also like to thank Cavanagh's Pub for supplying us with Kieran as well. Okay, brilliant. I hope you all enjoyed our prize giveaway. Hopefully you managed to grab yourself a prize. If not, sorry, but you never know. Someone will be around next year and you can try again. So once again, thank you to our sponsors, Dingle Gin, The Taste of Spain, Gibney's and Malahide, United Events Global, and Lily O'Brien's. Your support is very much appreciated by us all. So thank you, and we'll see you again.
Bye. Now we have another networking. So if you haven't time last opportunity, now it's your turn. So go ahead and enjoy it.